So for those who might be wondering, what is your graduate work? What is your PhD or your master's program? What's the plan? What have you studied above your bachelor's? So I just wanted to make a quick video to answer that question for those who are really nerdy about these kind of things. So my bachelor's degree was chemistry with a minor in history and philosophy of with a minor in philosophy. The history and philosophy of science is the branch of philosophy I really love. So I love studying the history and philosophy of science. And so I did that in 2007 to 2010. In 2010, I actually applied to do my PhD at Baylor University in Texas. I almost did a PhD in biochemistry back then. And the reason was because I wanted to bring together science and faith and those kinds of discussions. Notice a trend here. I still love talking about the implications of theories. So I got my bachelor's in chemistry and philosophy, had plans to do a PhD. I didn't at the time. I taught for 2 years at a local school in Duluth, Minnesota, and that was a blessing. That was eye-opening because it opened my eyes to the math education problem in America in terms of just seeing how our math textbooks are written, where there's duplication, and then kids needing mastery. So I did that, and it was a blessing to do that work in Duluth. At Lakeview Christian Academy. I did some of that work there, and some of it I just was doing for fun at home. And so I did that, and then I started a tutoring center. But that math education piece comes up because I've spent about 10 to 15 years dissecting the American math curriculum, and now we have a curriculum that can take everybody to calculus. So basically, part of my hobby, my side gig, is sort of this math education thing, helping every child do calculus. That's my goal. Because if you do calculus, you see the implications of algebra, and you better understand the goals in life. Because if you have calculus, you can go into medicine and engineering and so on without having a deficiency. So that's kind of what my math thing is. It's a hobby, and it's just on the side. But in about 2014 to 16, I started doing work in medical physics, and then I got my master's in medical physics and medical health physics. This deals with X-rays mostly. That's what medical physics work is. The bulk of it is X-rays. X-rays were discovered in 1895 by a German scientist called Wilhelm Röntgen, but it's spelled like Röntgen, but it's Röntgen. So Wilhelm Röntgen did work with X-rays and gave us X-rays, right? Marie Curie and Henry Becquerel, they gave us work in radioactivity, which came shortly after X-rays. But X-rays are basically created at the cathode, and they're shot over to the anode, and there's electrons are coming from the cathode to the anode, and there's some physics, let's just say that happens, which allows those electrons that hit the target, which is a tungsten target, to cause these X-rays to be formed. There's a term for this, two things here: characteristic X-rays and then bremsstrahlung, which is breaking radiation. Okay. X-rays are formed, great. Okay, but James Clerk Maxwell had done work prior to this showing us that light was electromagnetic radiation, and part of that work shows in the spectrum of light, we have X-rays, we have gamma rays, we have radio waves. These are all part of this light, and that's amazing stuff because Maxwell did this stuff, right? He believed and he saw. Well, he believed in things that were not seen by the naked eye, so to speak. And that's just interesting because in Hebrews 11 in the Bible, it talks about faith, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So notice that sometimes the things you can't see, you could take for granted that they're not there, but they're there. And that shows the reason why science needs to be very careful not to tell people that they must see to believe, because there are things we've done in science that we didn't see yet and we believed, and then it actually was true. And God has revealed himself. Not only has he shown his evidence in the creation of the world he made, but he has also revealed himself through Jesus Christ. Okay. So I bring this up then with X-rays. That's part of my graduate work is working with X-rays. I did that for my master's in medical physics, master's in medical health physics, and it was really around the question of what is the way to use radiation safely. That's part of what you learn in graduate school. So anyways, we did that work. Then I also tried to do work in cumulative dose tracking, which I've found that is not a good idea now. But I had this idea in graduate school where imagine if you're going around your day, like you're just minding your business, and then you find out you have an emergency and you have to go get a CT scan. Would it be helpful if the hospital knows that you've had 17 CT scans in the past month and you should probably not have another CT scan? Well, the research has actually come out that says no, don't do that. Don't track people's radiation in that sense that stops them from getting a CT scan if they need to get it. They should still get that scan. So that's something that you guys will be seeing, is this idea that we don't believe in cumulative dose tracking in people. It's not a good thing to do. There's a paper on that if you're interested in that. So the moral of the story with that particular research, which kind of helped me realize that my research has serious limits. The moral of the story is that if somebody needs a CT scan, the risk involved in getting one CT scan that they need is not too much to make it so they don't get the scan, because the problem they have, right, we need the scan to fix that problem. So you shouldn't be sitting there going, but I had 17 CT scans in the last year, am I going to get cancer? No, that's not the way you should view it. Radiation is actually radiation at certain levels is actually okay for you. People who live in Colorado get more radiation than us, than people who live in Fargo, North Dakota. So there's something to be said about radiation has a place. That you shouldn't be afraid of it, because our bodies can actually deal with some of the implications of radiation at smaller levels. I'm not talking about you getting dosed with the radiation every single day for no reason. I'm just saying medical x-ray events have a place, for you. Okay, so that's a little bit of my graduate work, was in trying to think through cumulative dose tracking, and I found that idea was not ideal. So in science, that happens. You have an idea, you find out that your idea is not necessary, or that you need to tweak it. So then what am I going to do now moving forward? Well, potentially I have to do more graduate work in medical physics. Actually, I have to do more graduate work in medical physics, and that's going to be ironed out down the road. But here's two things I'll be doing in terms of my graduate work in general. Number one is that I still have a heart for STEM education, and so I'm going to look at the work of James Clerk Maxwell with light and electromagnetic radiation, the 17 and 1800s, and I really want to write a big dissertation that goes over inventions, innovations, and theories from the 17 and 1800s. And I want that to be like a good handbook for students, so that when they're learning about Newton's laws of motion, they have a chapter to go and look at who Isaac Newton was and read about why did he come up with the laws of motion. Like, I want to answer the question of why for the kids today, and just for any scientists out there who want to go deeper, because I think it's important to know the why, because it will influence you giving your best if you know that there's a point. So that's one of my graduate work pieces that will be on the side happening, and there's PhDs that do this. They have a side gig in their PhD, so that's my side gig. My main focus, and I'm open to suggestions, if you guys have any things you want someone to research in x-rays or light or electromagnetic radiation, can you let me know, because I am actually thinking through this more. But I do want to see how I can better understand the work of the 1800s as it gave us x-rays, and how to better just what other research can come out of that work of the 1800s. In my current day-to-day, I am planning to do a lot more work in CT radiation dose. That's actually a good field. CT radiation dose improvements, and then maybe gamma camera and internal dose measurements. So basically, my PhD and graduate work is centered around x-rays and CT dose radiation improvements. Let's see how we can lower the dose, maybe still lower the dose. That'll be a good topic there. And then while I do that, let's help kids learn math and science better by learning the history and philosophy of science. That's kind of what I'm doing with my PhD graduate work for the next 5 to 10 years, God willing. And then someday maybe be a university president, or maybe start a college. That's kind of part of the goal when I retire. And so take care. I hope this was helpful to explain my academic work or what I hope to do. Take care and have a blessed day.